So it seems like once a year I have to dust that off. The stand-in cheer for the Panthers, the college song that represents the NFL team, and it's really sort of the parody of what's happened with the Panthers. We'll get into that a little bit later. Of course, this is the Giants podcast, but we always make fun of our friends here in Carolina. So stand and cheer for the Panthers as they go through another coaching change. So we are the three angry Giant fans and a Jet fan. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and angry fan Jet. Angry Jet fan Novak. I fucked that up last week, too.
Whatever works.
So we got a lot to talk about this week. We had a debacle on Black Friday. We had a Giants Pats game that was basically a mirror image of the Jets game. And just a lot of shenanigans around the NFL. We'll talk about the Panthers situation. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. So, guys, before we break into anything, initial thoughts of the weekend as a whole.
Well, you nailed it, Scott. I mean, that Giant Patriot game was just as gross as it gets. Again, another edition of just grotesque football from the New York Football Giants 2023 season. I was thinking about that. I was saying that to myself as I was watching that game. I'm like, this looks exactly like the Jet game. It was the same. Had New England made that 35-yard field goal, if you guys remember, it was a 35-yarder that Gano missed to go up by 6 at the end of the game. This guy's missing the 35-yarder. And I was thinking, holy shit, that game was 13-10 in overtime also. This game should have been 13-10 somebody or something. So we could, I mean, Black Friday feels like a month ago. So Novak, I don't know what, right? I mean, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, by the way. So I had a great one up in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, up in the mountains up there. But it was a great weekend as far as Thanksgiving break. But Black Friday football was gross. The Giants Patriots was gross. That's my take right there.
I mean, everything was bad. I mean, the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, the Thanksgiving Day games, nothing was good. There wasn't. No. I mean, did you guys watch a game that you were really into other than college, which I'm not going to say it again.
I watched one I was kind of interested in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as the pro game is concerned, Thanksgiving was horrible to watch. It was boring as hell. Yeah. Every game was just dreadful. What are we going to say? We have nothing left to say about the product that is the NFL right now. And Cardone, you hit it nail right in the head.
I was going to say Alabama, Auburn, but
that too.
Yeah, I won't even talk about the weekend for all the reasons that Cardone and Novak just brought up. But to go back to our opening with the Panthers, I don't know if we'll get a chance to get into that even later, but I don't know if the outside world outside of Carolina kind of realizes what a shit show this is here in Carolina.
I am going to tee that up for a segment because I think, now that Daniel Snyder's gone, we have our Daniel Snyder replacement in the NFL, and there's a lot of shit to talk about there. So a lot to unpack. So before we do that, before we talk about the Pats game and the Black Friday game, let's give a shout out. This was a fun one for me because I like the origin of this name. So hello, Treasure Island, Florida. Population 6,584. It's in Pinellas County on the Gulf of Mexico. And in 1915, the people that settled on this island decided to boost property values by burying and pretending to find chests of gold. Hence the name Treasure Island, Florida. And it was the home of Babe Ruth.
Yeah, come on.
The Babe Ruth?
The Babe Ruth.
What?
Yeah. What? I don't know if he moved there in his later years, but he didn't really have later years. He sort of died young.
Yeah. I know he looked 68 when he in the clips, but he was actually
he lived there for 6 months after retiring from the Yankees.
Right. That's cool. So they kind of, to pump up tourism, they said, "Oh, we're finding all this pirate gold. You guys should come down here with a shovel."
Is that where Kramer was when he had the metal detector on the beach? Was that where was he on that?
So yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I love origins. It's not as good as Antelopeville, but it's it's right up there.
What is? So does this mean someone from Treasure Island? We have a listener who was on Treasure Island.
He's on Treasure Island.
Man, you got to send us questions or something. Call in. I have so many questions.
So Giants continue their odd season. They played a game against Mac Jones and Zappy where the game was handed to them basically, and yet they still almost had a chance to lose. Like Cardone said, we had to survive a shanked field goal at the end by New England to avoid them going into overtime. And just a miserable game. And it's funny because Giant fans are so upset about winning and destroying their draft position that the Giants Twitterverse, you have fans like writing in resignation letters. It's like, fuck, bye Felicia, go. What the hell is going on here? We're fans. If we can't root for our team to win, if you can't root for Tommy DeVito and seeing his parents in the stands doing the what will probably become tired in about a week or two.
It's there.
It's already there. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at the box score, guys. You look at these numbers, and if I just told you, like, all right, what do you think the result of the game was? The Giants had a total of 10 first downs. They had a total of 220 yards of offense, 4.4 yards per play, sacked another 6 times. By the way, I mean, where are they now in terms of like being sacked this year? Aren't they on pace to shatter the record or something? I mean, I know we have 17 games now, all bullshit, but you look at these offensive numbers, and my God, it's just week in and week out. And I know, and it's not. I got to give DeVito credit. The guy's actually playing he plays fired up. I kind of like the guy's, gusto out there, if you will. He plays with a little bit of fervor and some zest. So he's winning some people over. He's won me over a little bit. I already made one apology to the guy last week when I was, barking at Fox for putting his, caricature up there saying get to know Tommy DeVito. But the guy, he's actually playing with. He's got the offense rallying around the guy a little bit. So for whatever that's worth, who the hell knows, right? I don't know. It's just a weird point in the season right now where these games. Again, we've talked about this on our pod many times where I can never root for the Giants to lose because I'll tell you, early in the game when the Giants were just sputtering around, I'm just barking at the TV as usual in a game that just eventually doesn't matter at all. But what's also interesting, not only the draft pick people will be upset about, the Giants now leapfrogged over the Washington Redskins, and we're now in third place. So now what that means is those 3 other games outside of the division, instead of playing the Cardinals, Bears, and the Titans next year, we're now scheduled to play like better teams. So we're fucking ourselves. So I kept saying like we lose when we win. That was my text thread on Sunday. It's like we lose when we win.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, what else to say about this? It's another one of those games like the Jet game where is it worth talking about individual plays and what actually happened and like. The only thing I can talk about, and I was going to save this as part of my pet peeve, but I'll use it here, is why is every punter fucking Ray Guy against the Giants? Why? I don't understand it at all. It's unbelievable. These punts hitting the ground at the 2 and bouncing straight up in the air. It's unfathomable.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because that's my part of my pet peeve involves.
Yeah.
No, so continue because I don't think you'll merge into my peeve here. But yeah, it's interesting you said that. But go ahead, please.
It's like because our offense isn't getting off the goal line, so what defense makes a big stop, and all you see, you like clap for 30 seconds, and then realize we're on the 40. This is gonna. Oh my God, he's gonna down it at the 1.5. Meanwhile, our punter, great. The ball hits the 20 and rockets through the back of the end zone.
Right.
Every time it hits the ground.
The ball hits the ground. Our ball hits the ground, and it's got those fucking like Wile E. Coyote jet roller skates on the back of the ball and just rockets into the end zone somehow. The ball does a 4.240 from the 20-yard line. There's no one near the ball able to down it. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, the Jets game and this game was the same thing. The Jets game is like, my God, give us some breathing room. Is that Morstead, Novak?
Yeah, we were plugging that punt like a drive into the sand trap. It was just dropping right in, not moving.
Look,
It's just
look what
uncanny.
we're reduced to analyzing punts at this point in the season. I mean, look what's going on. Jesus, we're worried about field position.
It actually played a part in this game. So if you remember, Gillen had like a 70-yarder earlier in the game. Like you said, Chris, it hit like at the 12 and bounded into the end zone.
Yeah.
No one could catch up to it.
No.
And then when we need a good punt, the punting the same direction, he kicks like a 32-yarder.
Yep.
That the Patriots return to like our side of the field. They're set up there for their last minute drive that they had that eventually ended in the missed field goal. But still, you just want your guy. I don't care if he kicks a 70-yarder in the first quarter. I'd rather kick the 70-yarder at the last drive when it happens.
Yeah,
it's all the little things. This team
punting has been. It's just been one of those under the surface things. I honestly, I go back to the Super Bowl the Giants lost, which I don't talk about much. I've never rewatched it since the day it happened. But if they were being honest in that game, Matt Stover should have been the MVP of that game. I don't know if you guys remember. He kept just pinning us back there against that defense.
There were like 7 people more deserving than Ray Lewis in that game. I mean,
there were.
Gone with Brandon Stokely. You could have gone with Dofer.
Yeah. But that was the first game I was ever like, this punter is kicking our ass. And now this year, it's like every game. It's like
every game.
We're just getting wasted by punters.
So, I mean, one thing I did want to mention about this game, and I think Belichick's lost his fastball because Dexter Lawrence was out of this game. The Patriots were able to run at will. I thought this would be another game where the Patriots run the ball 62 times, maybe throw the ball. Remember that game against the Bills last year where like
I do.
Didn't like Mac Jones have like 3 pass attempts?
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous like that. Why would Belichick not have just done that in this game? I mean, he basically was getting 5 yards whenever he wanted running with Stevenson.
I don't remember if I said it in the text thread to you guys or talking about it later or something else, but at one point in like close to the end of the third quarter, I said, I don't believe Belichick's interested in throwing the ball anymore.
Yeah.
And he, like you said, Scott, he did. And I'm not sure why.
We got Mac Jones. That's why.
Yeah. Jeez. It's
this is what infuriates me about Giant fans. So Giant fans will sit there and shit on Daniel Jones all day long. They prop up Tommy DeVito in a game. Now, granted, look, they like Tommy DeVito because Tommy DeVito makes some downfield plays. But at the end of the day, these teams still had under 300 yards of offense. We put up 10 points, 7 of which were given to us by a turnover that we had deep in New England's territory. We didn't score, like we need to. And people will sit there and still blame Daniel Jones for the New York Giants' woes. Well, we're watching guys like Mac Jones and Zappy playing on the opposite team. It's incredible to me as a fan. I get mad at first. I got mad at the people handing in the resignation letters. I get mad at anyone that's like just bailing on this team or saying, "Oh, I hate this team. We're not even trying for a good draft pick." Fuck the draft pick right now.
I'm going to highlight a little bit. I started saying in the middle of the game, and at no particular point, I think it was Wan'Dale Robinson just pissed me off a couple of times. First of all, what's funny is I happened to be out. The first play I sat down and watched, it's comical. I was a little bit late getting the game started. I know I have no excuse for missing the first few plays of a Giant game here, but the first fucking play I sit down and watch was the jet sweep fumble by Robinson. So I'm thinking that's how my day started. I'm like, and right then and there, and then when Sterling Shepard dropped what would have been like a key first down later in the first half, right? I'm trying to remember exactly what drive that was. I started saying, I'm looking at the Giant receivers, and we've talked about the receivers a number of times. And here's what I decided at the end of this game. Keep Jalen Hyatt, because that guy obviously has some talent and some skill, right? He's shown some flashes. Somehow in that game, he's able to get at least behind the secondary and have some deep plays. DeVito seems to find him at least once a game now, which is a miracle. But outside of Hyatt, I'm like, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, and Paris Campbell. Cut their 5 asses now. I'm not kidding. Cut all fucking 5 of them. Just cut them. Those Darius Slayton, you're not good. You're not, you wouldn't be on 15 other teams' roster. And the guy's like our number 1. I've said this before. He sucks.
Yeah,
Wandale Robinson, go away. Look at Isaiah Hodgins. He had a couple moments last year at the end of the season. I was buying into his, mystique or whatever. He came over. Get rid of these guys and start over. Keep Hyatt and get rid of this receiving core. I'm done with all of them.
I think Robinson has some value in the slot and also being that shifty guy. I think he'll stay if there's a better core of receivers. But every other one of those guys you just mentioned could be gone next year.
They should be gone
for sure. Shep's probably going to retire.
Yeah,
I don't think Slayton will stay around. Slayton has had some moments, but he also has those inexplicable drops, and
so I've had it with Slayton, and Campbell's just a joke. I mean, Campbell's they're a joke. These guys are a joke.
So Shepard it seems like once a week there's a ball, right, where we say, Shep, got to catch that, right? So it seems like once a week there's that. The guy has 16 targets the whole year. So we're once a week saying, Shep, you got to catch that, man. What good is he?
It's amazing how much difficulty these receivers have getting open and getting separation from anybody. And a Sterling Shepard is supposed to be the hands guy, right? I'm doing the air quotes here. Dropping one right in his chest, which just killed that drive. It's just frustrating with these guys. So it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball at that point. But these receivers, man, there's so much fixing that the Giants got to do, especially on offense everywhere. Yeah. The line, of course, we know, but this receiving core, what bothers me is that the media, even the Giants, no one talks about them. No one talks about what a pathetic group of receivers this Giant team has. They just don't. It's not brought up. It's never brought up. It's the quarterback. It's you name it. It's everything but like the receivers. You barely hear much about it, and they are among, if not the worst in the league as far as a group. They got nobody. Yeah, Hyatt is actually showing some talent. That's it.
We talked about it in 21, and then 22 is that outlier year we have now. We're right back where we were in 21 here in 23, and it's just this idea that Jones goes down, and the team becomes less than bad. They become non-NFL competitive. They're below NFL competition at any level. That should be an advertisement for Daniel Jones as the quarterback of this team. It shouldn't be the opposite. People shouldn't watch 6-7 weeks of Mike Glennon and still decide that Daniel Jones is the problem. It's unfathomable. I don't get it. He might not. Well, I think our draft pick is actually going to be far enough back now that he might survive as a starter another year, but that wouldn't bother me at all.
I think based on what Shane said, he addressed the media, I think on Monday this week, and based on what he said, if I read between the lines, I think what the Giants will do is that the classic Jones will be the starter when healthy, but whoever they draft, and they probably will draft a quarterback somewhere. I don't necessarily know it's in the first round, but whoever they draft, he will be that guy that will be the heir apparent, and Jones probably has 4 to 6 games next year to warm the seat until the guy comes in, but you never know with these things. I mean, look at Anthony Richardson this year. He started game 1, I believe. So even if you have a backup, or even if you have a veteran quarterback that's starting, there's no guarantees there. You never know what's going to happen. What I did want to talk about a little bit was, Tibbs. Tibbs has a guy who was being talked about earlier in the year. Matter of fact, Carl Banks got in an argument with some guys on WFAN earlier this year about Tibbs being a bust. Well, Tibbs now has 11 sacks this year, and I think he's the first Giant since JPP to reach that plateau in his first 2 seasons. And the guy is starting to come on in a scheme that's very tough to get a lot of sacks. So Tibbs, to me, when I see him play, he's a difference maker out there. There's a couple guys. Yeah. Okerke's had a great year. I mean, he just seems everywhere. He had that interception this week, and he had a chance to take that to the house.
He should have. I was begging him to take it to the house because as soon as he does it, it's a field goal.
At best. Yeah.
No, Tibbs is a guy. I mean, I have the guy's jersey. I love the guy. I was shaking my head at the beginning of this year, like, all right, time to come on. Where the hell are you? You're invisible. And sort of quietly over these past few weeks, he is really picking up a head of steam. And on some plays right now, he looks unblockable. He seems to be in the backfield all the time. I mean, I think he's going to settle into a nice career now, I hope.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
because I thought this week against the Pats with Dex out, I said, yeah, Tibbs isn't going to get anywhere near the quarterback this week, because they can single block the nose, and that's not what happened.
Yeah, I thought Tibbs would see multiple double teams all day,
Yeah.
and he wouldn't be anywhere near, like you said, Mike, the quarterback or the backfield. But he's been disruptive, which is, I like that adjective, to describe his play, getting tackles for losses, pressuring the quarterback, getting sacks, as you highlighted, Scott. So yeah, he definitely, yeah, I was doing the same thing where, as fans, we just get impatient, right? So the first couple of weeks, I don't know what was going on, man. He was invisible. What bothered me is that he looked like he wasn't even getting off the ball at all. Something didn't look right physically or something with Tibbs early in the season. So now he's found a groove, in midway through the season, and now, we have 5 games left. So, hopefully he adds to his sack total and stuff. So he's having a nice year, and Okereke certainly has come on. So that's been a nice addition to the Giant defense here. So, defensively, the Giants have actually kind of held their own. They've been actually, NFL caliber, certainly the last month or so. The defense have played some bad offenses, but nonetheless, they're playing NFL teams, and the defense has come on. So much more on the other side of the ball. But, defensively, actually been playing pretty decent.
Yeah, we'll go 3 weeks in a row without a loss.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
The
old
golden
bye
age
week.
of the season.
Yes.
So the Jets have they did not play on Thanksgiving, so it's not necessarily a repeat of the butt fumble, but on Black Friday now we have the Hail Mary, which is
or the Fail Mary, one of the two. I've heard
the
two.
only time I have actually personally seen a Hail Mary return for a touchdown the opposite way. Only the Jets. We could say only the Giants because it would fit as well, but here it's just the Jetsing.
So, Scott, did I tell you guys how I was going to break down this game before this?
You did not.
I did not.
No.
Scott just said only the Jets, right? I was going to go into this. Who the fuck wants to listen to me break down the most boring game in the history of the earth? I'm not going to do that. So I had the top 10 history only the Jets moments.
Love it.
That I was going to do as my Jet breakdown in lieu of breaking down that godforsaken game that we all had to sit through on Black Friday, the holiday that's not a holiday. So you ready for this? So thank you, Scott, for teeing that up.
By the way, that's where a good host comes in. A good host knows what you're going to do.
You just knew.
That's right.
Just knows. I know it.
All right.
Awesome.
Ready? Number 10. Joe Walton nose picking. So, as Cardone knows, I went to junior high school, right? Thompson Junior High back in Middletown, New Jersey. Having a fan of a Jet fan, and every time that my coach was on the screen, his finger was halfway up his nose. That dude was digging for gold. I got made fun of all the time. So it's only the Jets that my coach was known for his nose picking. So that was number 10. Number 9, Jawgate. That's when Geno Smith, 1 week before the season started, got his jaw knocked out by Ike Mpali, so he couldn't play. Number 8, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. Remember that on national television? That embarrassment, right? He's against the Patriots, and he said, with mic'd up, forgot he was mic'd up, and said, "I'm seeing ghosts out there." That's a great way to make fun of the Jets on that one. Only the Jets. Number 7, the HC of the NYJ. Bill Belichick with the note, "I no longer am the HC of the NYJ after 1 day of being coach." Number 7, another Jet embarrassment. Number 6, a Scott Cost favorite, the Rex Ryan foot fetish.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Scott has been relentless with me on that in our fantasy football. He would say things like, "Novak only wins by a foot." Stuff like that. Scott tore that one up on me for all those years. The number 5, Kenny O'Brien over Dan Marino. I mean, I went at that one at the Namath curse.
Self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory right there. Number 4, the fake spike.
They just brought that out this week.
Marino
I
again.
saw it again.
Yes.
Marino again. I was at that game in the stands.
Nice.
Thinking we're going to go to 7-5. We're on the way to winning our division, and the fake spike happened. So with the Jets, only the Jets have names of things, right? So we had the fake spike, right?
Yes.
Number 3, I'm going to have to go with last Friday. The Hail Mary is going to be number 3 on my list of the only the Jets most embarrassing moments. So the Hail Mary is number 3.
Hail Mary.
Number 2, I'm going to go with the butt fumble. As
Oh my God! How can the butt fumble only be
How's that not number 1?
Oh, just wait,
Wow.
just wait. So the butt fumble is number 2, and I remember this distinctly. And my cousins do listen to this podcast, and that was Thanksgiving night. My whole family's sitting around. My brother and my father and I, who, by the way, I sent you guys a picture. We watched the game on Friday, had a great time. We were watching the Jets, and the butt fumble happened, and everyone was cracking up, laughing at us, and we sat there in misery for the rest of the night. And then the number 1. Only the Jets moment, 4 and out, Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles tear.
Oh, yes.
Is the number 1, only the Jets moment.
Yeah,
so
good.
rather than break down that god-awful game on Friday, I thought I would bring a little levity to the situation. Those are the top 10, for me, the most embarrassing Jets moments in my history. And and you know, it's funny, I didn't have to sweat to get 10. I had like 15. Right. I had to like break it. I had to like cut 5 out.
He could have done the old best of the rest segment at the beginning.
Yeah, right.
I could go honorable mention right here, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
The only thing you need to do is have like the David Letterman where you throw the card. And
Yes.
I was going to do that, but we don't have any sound effects on this thing. You got to get Darren on that.
So
Darren's got to
the intern.
get working on this.
I take exception to only one of those. That was an awesome list, Scott. Great job.
That's awesome.
But it's not only the Jets with the nose picking, because Boeheim spent the 80s with his finger up his nose.
He did.
That
is true.
For Syracuse. So I used to mock my dad relentlessly for that.
I take a little issue with number 1 because the Dick is back practicing, or he's got the window open where he can be activated. Somehow he's got the fastest growing Achilles in the land. It must be the dark therapy is helping.
Well, I told you, I sent you guys that text. He wanted to start practice on his birthday, and he wanted to play in the first game on Christmas Eve. The 2 most important births in the world.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers and Jesus Christ. So
dick.
He is such a dick. At this point, I want him to go away. I've had enough of him on McAfee every week. He's not even part of the team, and I got to listen to that dick every single week. Enough with Aaron Rodgers.
We had a lot of Aaron Rodgers sightings again on Black Friday. So, you know, the camera found Salah a lot. The camera was, you know what? And it's funny because I did make a point of this when the Giants were playing to see how often they showed Dable. And they were talking about, when they would talk about Dable, they would show Dable. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they just showed the game. There were so many times during that game where they didn't show any sideline after plays. With the Jets, it's like every other play. They show the sideline.
Crazy to me, because out of Dable and Salah, which one is more likely to go on a TV worth rampage on the sideline?
Dable 10 times over.
To shout down his quarterback, or to just get in another coach's face. He might do something interesting.
Or he might even just have a bad look in his face.
Yeah, he gives people that stare.
Something
camera worthy.
He just doesn't do anything.
Salah looks the same every time. It doesn't matter if they just scored a touchdown or if they missed a 4th down conversion. He's got the same look.
Yeah. I think the camera's trying to capture Salah's beard growing in real time, maybe. I swear, I think they're looking to see if it actually can see the hair follicles coming out on the sidelines in real time, because the guy sported a full-grown beard in 6 days somehow.
Now it's back to being clean shaven.
Right.
I didn't catch that. Is it clean shaven now?
It's clean shaven on Black Friday.
Yeah. I think
I might have painted on beard like the guy from Ohio State, Ryan Day.
I might have been in the black on Black Friday. Did not notice that. Oh, I think that's what happened. Ryan Day and Salah exchanged beards. Can I use it this weekend? We've got the big Michigan game.
So Giants have a bye this week. bye late in the week, and we're gonna have a question coming up a little bit later about buys. But I mean, we're week 13, and the Giants are just hitting their bye week. We'll talk about whether that's an advantage, not a disadvantage, or so forth going in the next one of the segments later. But Novak, Jets, Falcons, barn burner on paper. I mean, two offensive juggernauts. Thoughts on this game?
Who the hell wants to watch this game? I mean, we might get.
They couldn't put this one on Peacock.
I know.
Who did? I texted you guys. I do like Kenny Albert, but that other, who was the other guy? Vilma. He is so
Jonathan
bad.
Vilma was terrible. He was so bad.
Yeah,
terrible. And he kept doing the forget about it thing. Stop with the DeVito and the Italianness. Like, I'm so over that. And Vilma did it like 10 times. Stop. So no, I think this game is going to be a complete bore. Desmond Ridder, Tim Boyle. I mean, come on. I don't know what you want me to say here, other than this is going to be another low scoring game, probably a 20-13, something like that. The Jets really should win this game. They're not going to, and I'm going to pick the Falcons when I get to predictions, but they are in their traditional downward spiral. They were at 4-3. They're now at 4-7. The defense has clearly given up. In my mind, they've just thrown their hands up in complete disgust that they are out on the field after a 3-and-out, after another 3-and-out, after another 3-and-out. I think Saleh has lost the team, and we are held hostage by the dick because we can't fire Hackett. We can't let go of Saleh. And we are going to have to run this back for one more year, which sadly I agree with, because what are you going to do? Like, you're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator. You're going to upset the dick and he's going to walk away. And then we're starting from scratch again. I mean, we can't do that. So we're stuck for another year with this whole regime, and the dick is basically our general manager. So I don't know, are we doing predictions here?
Let's do predictions.
All right. I'm going 20-13 Falcons.
We need the judge, Bill Pito, to do this game. Falcons, Jets.
This is a judge game.
Cardone.
Yeah, this one, I was literally going to flip a coin to see to pick my winner for this game, but to Novak's point, I think it's impossible to pick the Jets right now. The Falcons actually have something to play for at 5-6. There's always at least one division with 8 divisions, right, in the NFL. There's always that one division every year that has this decrepit bullshit going on. The NFC South is it this year. We saw it with the NFC East a few years ago. So the Falcons are sitting there in first place, 5-6, a minus 19 point differential. And here we are post Thanksgiving now, and this team's sitting in first place. Evidently they have the tiebreaker against over the New Orleans Saints, obviously. But so the Falcons have something to play for. I think they win a barn burner. It's funny. I already had the score in my head, Novak. It's almost identical to yours. I have the Falcons winning 19-14 without any realm or reason as to how they get these points or whatever happens in this game. I guarantee I won't be watching this game on Sunday. That's for sure. So Novak, you have no choice but to watch.
I'll keep you updated. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure I'll be doing something else at 1:00, watching a different game. I'm not sure what though, but because really the only interesting game Sunday seems to be the Eagles and the 49ers. But yeah, so I got the Falcons winning that game. Ugh, that's a dreadful matchup.
Mikey.
Yeah, I am. I agree with everything. Of course, you guys all said, and it's just a matter of the score. Now I'm picking the Jets mostly because I want to gain some ground back on Novak. So that's where I am right now. So, and I thought, what's just the dumbest score I can pick for someone to win a game? So at the same time, I'm looking at our records for the picks this year. So I said, okay, after I win this game, I'm going to be 15-8, 15-8 Jets. My
classic
breakdown.
Yeah.
So I am a fan of the Jets D. I'm in a fantasy football league, a high dollar one, where the Jets D is carrying our team right now, and we're in the playoffs, and we need to win here. So we got a touchdown from the Jets D last week. Hoping to see a touchdown again this week. The Falcons are a weird team for me. Cardone broke down, they're in first place with a losing record. They got guys like Bijan Robinson they haven't really used this year as well, and then he goes off for 2 touchdowns last game. Drake London's done hardly anything. The tight end they have, Kyle Pitts. He reminds me of Ingram with the Giants. Just a lot of talent, but hasn't had the production. I can't figure this team out. They probably should have lost last week, and they didn't. But I'm going to go with the Falcons 17-16.
Close game.
Tight one.
Like it.
I think it's going to be a close game. I do.
All right, so here's the update then. So Novak went to 16-6. The rest of us are all 14-8 now. So we're 2 games back. The 3 Giant fans are tasting exhaust from the from Jet, the Novak fan, or whatever Scott calls it.
I'm the angry Jet.
Yeah, the angry Jet.
I keep fucking
The
it
angry,
up, man.
yeah, the angry fan
The
Jet.
angry Jet.
Yeah.
By the way, big news came through today. Giants Packers will not be flexed out of Monday night next week.
Oh crap!
The Giants are going to be playing on Monday night versus the Packers.
Is there just nothing else to play? Why would
Isn't
they
there
do that?
wait? But Scott, isn't there a second Monday night game that night or something?
I don't know.
No, I saw it today. I was looking. If you give me a second, I was checking NFL scores and the schedule coming up. So that's the week after our bye, and I'm looking on ESPN right now. Yeah, the Titans Dolphins are also playing on Monday night, the 11th.
Why are we having 2 Monday night games?
No idea. So that's on
Middle in
ESPN,
December?
and then and the Giants Pack are on ABC/ESPN Plus. I'm looking at it right here. I mean, they got Titans Dolphins also on Monday. How the hell? When did that happen? Did they flex
I have no
that?
idea.
They must have flexed that game over to Monday, because who the fuck wants to watch the Giants on Monday night as the only Monday night game in town? So they said we can't. No, who wants to watch the Titans though?
Oh.
So.
I mean, how bad have the primetime games been? I mean, you throw in Thanksgiving and Black Friday, combined with the Sunday and Monday night games. So terrible.
No, they didn't flex that. I'm looking at the schedule. That was on since the beginning. Why would they why wouldn't they flex something like Seattle San Fran to Monday night?
Yeah.
They're playing Buffalo, Kansas City. Why not flex that one?
Wait, Seattle and San Fran are playing again already?
Yeah, Seattle and San Fran are playing.
Didn't they just play Thanksgiving night?
They did. That was on Thanksgiving.
But you have Buffalo against Kansas City. Why not flex that one? That's 425. Why not flex that out?
So the networks can protect some of those, right? They can say.
I think Mike's right.
Well,
so that's
they
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, Bills Chiefs has got it. That's obviously the America's game of the week on that 425.
I mean, the Sunday night game is
Sunday
Philly
slot.
Dallas.
Yeah. So that's on CBS. So CBS obviously no, you're not touching the Bills Chiefs game. That's not going anywhere.
Fucking Nance and Romo have to splooge over that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, can I take a moment to just bag on the NFL here as in general? I know we've talked about this because Novak brought it up, I think, in your pet peeve a couple weeks ago. You ran through the games, the matchups, and like, would you watch this? And I think we were like, 13 out of 15 were like, no, we're not going to watch that shit. So I got an interesting text from a friend of mine, and I asked where the source of this came from because I hadn't seen this statistic or anything close to it. And I think he said it was from the Athletic subscription, which I'm not too familiar with. You guys familiar with the Athletic?
Yeah.
An app? Yeah. So let me just break this down. And I'm just going by what was sent over, and I didn't do the research myself. But going into Sunday, this is the entire NFL now. I love these kind of stats, league-wide stats. So entering the day on Sunday, the league is down about 6 points per game from its peak in 2020. So just only 3 years ago, the total points per game, I guess, had peaked. We're down 6 points per game on average. That's a lot, when you consider the entire league. Okay. It's also down 60 yards per game. All right. We had the same yards per pass play as in 1980. So that's all these little check down bullshit passes, these little short bullshit stuff that we see every week in every team, every offense, except for the elite offenses like the Buffaloes, and we can name those ones. Does every NFL fucking offense looks exactly the same? Because we have a lot of bad quarterbacks out there. We have a lot of bad play calling. We have penalties. Mike, you'll like this one. Penalties are at a 4-year high. Sacks are at a century high. So we've documented on our show here about how the defensive line is dominating the offensive line. So sacks are at a high, penalty, field goal. I love this one. Field goal attempts per game are basically at a 1970s level, because when no one kicks field goals anymore.
Yeah,
and then
I'm surprised
finally,
it's not further back.
Yeah, and the last statistic here, and this one's a little misleading. Passing touchdown rates are down 30% from 1965. So again, every team throws the ball 40 plus times a game. So how many of those are actually resulting in touchdown passes? You probably have a nothing touchdown. One is a little bit misleading, just because, okay, back in this, 1965 and 70, they threw the ball 18 times a game as opposed to 40 something. But what's interesting about this, guys, the first one, we're down about 6 points per game. Oh, with all these coaches going for it, passing up on field goals, going for two, where the fuck are all the points then? Where are all the points?
You know what?
So you're chasing points, you're leaving points off the board, and the league is down 6 points per game. So where are the analytics on this?
Ironically, 6, right, Cardone? 2 field goals.
Yeah.
It seems like every team doesn't kick 2 field goals they should kick in a game now.
Or that's a field goal per game, or per team, right?
Yeah.
It's 3 points for each. It's 3 points per each team. There you go.
You know what scares me about this, though? Because the scoring's down, the NFL will manufacture scoring through officiating, which means that the calls, which are already at a high, are going to go even higher. And it's going to become even that much more bullshit when you see downfield plays called as penalties.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, Cardone, that is a very interesting set of statistics, because you do think about it. Like you remember the old major leagues, the joke they used to have, chicks dig the long ball. Remember that whole thing?
Yes.
It's almost like the NFL is saying, chicks dig the touchdown and no field goal because it's boring. And so they talked about this at the beginning of the year and was like, hey, let's start going for it. It's so funny. Like, that is incredible that you said that.
But look at the stats, though, guys. Their stats are showing exactly what we talk about every week, is that points are just being left off the board. So it's amazing, because what I want to know, what I would love to see, and there's probably a statistic out there, those drives where teams are going for it on fourth down and giving up the field goal, I would love to see the total number of points that have been left off the board had the team kicked the successful field goal on those fourth and downs and whatever where they didn't get it. What's that number? Right, because those are points, and I'll continue to bag on Booger McFarland just because I think he's an asshole and I hate his analysis. Field goals don't win games. No, Mr. Booger, they do. They do win the game. The Chicago Bears won a disgusting game the other night, kicking only field goals, where Justin Fields is fumbling the ball all over the joint, and they still somehow won the game with field goals.
You know what I loved about that game? The advanced stats. So in between, like while they're playing, I'm flipping channels and I'm over on another channel, and the scroller's coming across, and it's talking about Bears, and it says Justin Fields ties Bears record, I think, for 12 consecutive completions. Great. Then the next thing comes by, advanced stat. Justin Fields average, yard per throw or air throw or something was like negative 0.5, which means he was throwing every ball behind the line of scrimmage. If you can't complete 12 of those in a row, then you're really terrible.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that game you guys watched, if any, but I don't know if they called a passing play other than a screen pass in that game. They didn't. It was amazing.
Well, I actually take the time. I don't know why, guys. I'm just a stat geek. I love looking at this stuff, and I will look at in-game box scores around the league. I just like to look at the stats and what's happening. I'm not even playing fantasy football anymore. I just like to do that. And when you look at the yards per pass, and it highlighted here in this, in this statistic here, we have the same yards per pass play as in 1980. It's 4 or 5 yards per, and that's per pass attempt. So that takes into account incompletions and everything. But every offense, you don't see. I'm not going to give you credit for those wide receiver screens that turn into a 15 or 20 or 25 yard game, because that's the other thing. The fucking tackling in this league, God help us, where the missed tackles is just, it's out of control. So and the yards and the points are still down with all of the officiating leaning and favoring the offense, guys. We're seeing all those numbers coming down and going in the opposite direction. And the NFL's not happy about that because they like to see the scoreboard. They like to see those scores. That's why they help the offense any chance they can get.
Yeah. I think in this, go ahead, Novak.
I was about to say, if you had bet the over of 40 on the Giants, Patriots plus Vikings, Bears, you would have lost.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
2 NFL games, 40 as the over, 2 games combined, you would have lost.
You could do a Warner Wolf. If you had the over-under at 18 and you went on, you lost the Giant Patriots. And these teams are putting up 17 combined points.
I took the under this week. It was the Steelers Bengals. I took the under, which was 36.
Oh, that's gross.
And I won.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I won.
And I won.
Actually, the under has come in more this year than any other year in recent memory.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about, and it ties back sort of this in terms of the officiating, was that Bills-Eagles game. So if you look at that Bills-Eagles game, the Bills 51 pass attempts, not a single penalty for yardage was called against the Eagles secondary in that game. So 51 times Josh Allen dropped back. And we know the NFL's propensity to call illegal contact, defensive holding, defensive pass interference. Not a single penalty was called against the Eagles. There are quite a few on tape that look like penalties that weren't. So at halftime, Philly had 1 penalty for 5 yards. The Bills had 10 penalties.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, the Eagles had 4 penalties for 30 yards. Buffalo had 11 penalties for 80 yards. There was a play actually. First and I don't think it was first. I think it was second down inside the Philly 10. Josh Allen rolls to the side, gets pulled down by what looks like a horse collar. Not only don't they call a horse collar, but they call intentional grounding on Josh Allen. Whereas if you watch the replay, there literally was a receiver where the ball landed less than 2 yards away from his feet. So they don't call a horse collar, and they ring him up for an intentional grounding. So next thing you know, it's wherever at the spot of the penalty, loss of down, third down, and you end up missing a field goal. We saw no PI called on a couple of plays where guys were being grabbed. That we've talked about this before. That's a penalty every time. Well, that's not called every time, because I just saw an instance here where a guy has his jersey being pulled coming out of his break, and there's not a flag. And then the worst thing that I think happened, and this was sort of I think it was glossed over, was when AJ Brown fumbled the ball. He fumbled a ball. They didn't call it a fumble, but we have a play where Keenan Allen in a game right after that was mirror image, was called for a fumble, took 2 steps, and then this whole bullshit element of time, whatever they call that. AJ Brown tucked the ball, fumbled on the field. It was called a fumble initially. And if you remember, New York buzzed down immediately and said, no, that's not a fumble. Then they don't even review it. Whereas with Keenan Allen's was called a fumble on the field, and of course they had to stay with that because they couldn't overturn that. So these things happen where it just seems like every call against the Dolphins, against the Bills, against the Cowboys has now gone in Philly's favor. And guys, I watched Philly when they had to go down and score, where their tackles are moving early. Every fucking play. Every play. It's not even like hidden. It's not like this is they're kind of moving early. No, they are blatantly moving early. No flags whatsoever. I don't know how you compete against this. And meanwhile, this is what pisses me off. It should have been a pet peeve of mine. Romo talking about the championship DNA that the Eagles have. Well, it's easy to have championship DNA when you're basically spotted a touchdown every game by the officials, and you're never called for anything that you do wrong.
How does a group of players and coaches who've never won anything have championship DNA?
Great
Wait,
question.
well, first off, how does Tony Romo know what championship DNA is?
And how does Tony Romo
another
get to
great
judge
question.
it? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
The absolute tongue bath he gave Jalen Hurts for that whole game was disgusting.
Yeah. But imagine, I always think about this. Like, Scott, you highlighted at one point, I think, it was at halftime, it was 10 penalties to 1. Imagine that in a basketball game. Imagine that in a college basketball game or NBA where like one team has 10 fouls, the other has 1. It would never, ever happen. Or if it did, if all of a sudden the refs realize, because what's going to happen, especially like in basketball, like the other coach is going to be obviously just ripping the official's ear on a timeout, and then you quickly get that, the next 5 calls are going to be on the team no matter what's happening. Here, no, it doesn't. Why them? Why the Eagles? What? You know what I mean? Why are they the select team to be, like just not get the defensive PIs or those critical third down holdings and illegal contacts on defense? Why this organization? Why this team? That's what I don't understand. Why them?
Guys, why aren't they even getting called for false starts? And it's funny because people are like, well, look, they called Jason Kelsey for 2 false starts in a drive. Yeah, but the guy's blatantly moving the ball early. I mean, he's not even hiding it. You got their tackles moving early on every play. Why are they allowed to do that and no other NFL team is allowed to?
There's something going on this season with Philadelphia. It's hard to dispute. I mean, it's pretty freaky, actually, the number of examples you can get going back through the whole year. I have no idea how the Jets beat this team unless the officials just said, we're not going to do this today because it's the Jets, and boom.
I mean,
but there's something odd happening with the Jets.
I was going to say with the Eagles. Yeah. The only thing, I mean, and this may sound far-fetched or stupid, but maybe not. Is this payback for the holding call in the Super Bowl? I mean, really, is this sort of, is it transcendent from that play, that questionable play on the game-winning field goals drive for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year? I'm just throwing it out there just for conversation or discussion. Seriously, I don't know. I mean,
I think they want the Kelsey brothers and Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, right. No joke.
No, Novak,
it could actually be that.
Seriously. Absolutely. I'm not disputing that at all. The NFL is such a whore in terms of matchups and money and viewership and all that. I don't put anything past it. Think about it, guys. It's so true. That would be another dream matchup is a rematch of the Kelsey brothers and Taylor Swift and all this bullshit. Kansas City, Philly. That's a damn good matchup for when you think, as far as Super Bowl teams. You think the NFL is not identifying this stuff and having absolutely they are.
That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You killed 2 birds with 1 stone by getting the Bills out of the path of the Chiefs by not even having them make the playoffs, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't think they are.
I don't see what's happening with the Eagles happening with the Chiefs. The Chiefs get calls. They have since Mahomes started getting good, but not like this. This is something I can't recall seeing anything ever like this before. There's something happening there, because if you take any one of the sort of middling teams this year, which they aren't a lot of, by the way, that's another thing we should talk about sometime. There's like 6 great teams and everyone else sucks in the league, but
True.
But I'm thinking if you take a Detroit Lions and you just shifted what Philly's getting to Detroit, they're going to be 8-1, 9-1 right now. They're good enough to that what the Eagles are getting probably is taking a what's how many weeks are we in? What's Philly's record? Are they like 9-1 or something?
They're 9-1 now.
They're
10-1. Yeah, 10-1. Yeah.
So I really think that the love that the Eagles are getting is preventing them from being probably like neck and neck with Dallas, maybe a game behind Dallas. I mean, I think the Philly we saw earlier in this year where they were kind of struggling out of the gate, they weren't getting calls like this early. This is something that's come on lately, and I can't think of a better explanation than Novak's.
What I don't get though are the ones that are like in the open field, like the ones on the sideline where the receivers are being grabbed, or in the Miami game where the receiver had his like face mask literally pulled. You have officials calling no contact as illegal contact or defensive holding, but they don't see a face mask right in the middle. I mean, right there. I mean, at the point of attack. It's not even like it's to who the pass is being thrown to. I don't get how you miss those. And furthermore, I don't get how you, when you miss those, you just like walk back to the huddle when the other guy's like berating.
Yeah. The shot now of Josh Allen getting, horse collared and spun around. That what's awesome about that shot is the official staring right at the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Sean Hockley, who is Ed Hockley's son, has worked five Eagle games now. The Eagles are 5-0 in those games and have covered the spread in every one of them.
Wasn't there something like that going on last year too? We talked about with the Eagles. They had a ref that basically traveled with them.
Yeah.
Is he cousins with Donahue from the guy that was throwing NBA games? That ref
might have been Scott Novak. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw on Scott Novak.
Did Scott Novak to the Giants Patriots game?
He did.
Yeah.
Bonnie was like, "Hey, this guy gets around." I saw on Instagram, put my cap on this. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Dean Blandino, I think, talking to Rich Eisen this week and actually saying he thinks it's technology, that the refs lean too much on technology. That was his explanation why because Eisen, he didn't pull many punches. He's like, you can't whitewash this. The officiating's not good. And, and Blandino said, I agree. It's been a little iffy. And he gave his explanation why we lean too much on technology. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Technology has nothing to do with calling illegal contact on the, 50 yards away from the play to extend a drive for a team that was in 3rd and 17. It has nothing to do with technology. You can't, and that's what people have. See, it's the NFL and the officials. The game that they're playing right now is the straw man game or the red herring game, right? So they're saying, yeah, okay, the officiating's not been great. This technology, and everyone's like, no, you're talking about the wrong thing. Like, it's not the technology. It's not these calls that go to the booth and then get overturned. Because frankly, when they go to the booth and they look at the replay, most of the time they get it right anyway. So I don't mind them leaning on technology in those types of calls at all. What I just want the 3rd and 17 after a big stop, illegal contact that comes out after the play is over, 5 yards downfield when the play happened 30, that's the stuff that needs to stop.
I'll give you an example of technology here that worked against, again, the Bills and in the Eagles' favor. In that Charger game where Keenan Allen fumbled or was ruled to fumble, they ruled it a fumble on the field, and technology could not overturn it based on what they saw. In that Bills game, in real time, A.J. Brown fumbled. The Bills came away with that ball. It was ruled a fumble. Then immediately, that replay that's not an official replay buzzed down and said, whoa, no, I don't think he got his 2 feet down. They changed the call on the field to an incomplete pass. So if it had been reviewed, they would have had to overcome that burden. So the technology actually fucked the Bills because there's a guy upstairs going, no. Somehow he automatically initiated a review without a challenge flag or anything like that and changed the call on the field. Those kind of fishy things are happening with the Eagles over and over again. Not to mention that when they do the push, the brotherly shove, all over that fuck shit is, they are going off sides every fucking time they do it. Their guys are firing out early, and yet half the time they're calling the defense for a penalty. It's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we opened the podcast with the Panthers theme song. They fired Frank Reich this week. Earliest firing of a coach, so only 11 games into a season in the last, I think it's 45 years. And really, Tepper has turned this franchise into a dumpster fire. He's done a number of things where he reneged on a deal with Rock Hill, which is a suburb of Charlotte, for a practice facility, tried to stick them with the bill. And when the county said, oh, wait a minute, we're meeting our obligations, what did Tepper do? He had one of his companies file bankruptcy so that they can get out of the deal. And now this site they've already torn down the structure that was built there. And it's basically now it's an empty piece of land where they were going to put a practice facility on.
Yeah. They built an exit off the highway for that.
They built an exit. Yeah, they built infrastructure to go see that.
Yeah.
Tepper's owned the Charlotte FC, the NMLS team, for 2 years. In their inaugural season, they're actually in a decent position to try and make the playoffs, and he fires the coach like 7 matches in their inaugural season. The guy's doing okay. It's an expansion team. Fires him, brings in another guy. They finish the season, miss the playoffs. Second season, they make the playoffs, and he fires the coach again. So they've made the playoffs in their second season of existence in the MLS, which, by the way, has not happened very often in that league, and he gets fired. So here he hires Frank Reich and fires him immediately, 11 games in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear something interesting? There have been more head coaches since Tepper took over than there were the entire previous history of the Panthers before him.
Jeez.
I am incredibly grateful for the Panthers. Seriously, because I always had the Lions and the Browns to say, at least we're not them. Now they're actually good. So now I can say, well, we're not this, like you said, Scott, complete dumpster fire. And they have no first round draft choice because of that midget they've got running out there at quarterback that apparently Tepper wanted. So you know what, Panther fans, you can take Sir Purr and you can have that laughing stock at our organization that is going to just be the bottom feeders for the next 15 years because you can see it happening.
They're doomed. They
Sir
are
Purr.
absolutely doomed. They got the modern day version of Billy Martin now, just firing everybody for no reason. 11 games into a season. I mean, listen, I thought Frank Reich was actually a good hire when they hired him. I said he's kind of level head that this team needs right now because there's some. What did Tepper think this team was going to be 11 weeks in? Did he think they were even going to be like 6-5, 5-6, 4? Who thought that? Nobody thought that. Everyone said, boy, they have a rough season coming here. And, kudos to the Bears for somehow getting that draft pick from them. What were the Panthers thinking? That was definitely a top 3 pick. I just don't get what they're doing. The town is in a funk. I mean, this town, say what you want, they don't really show up at games in the numbers you'd like to see, but they love this team.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, it's really, really bad. They don't even have anything to rebuild with.
So Tepper just had a press conference and he cut it off after 10 minutes. Most of the beat writers weren't able to ask questions, but what Tepper did get to work in, and he said this like a number of times in other capacities. By the way, he's the one that made the claim that he brought live music to Charlotte. Not to mention that, I've been going to concerts in Charlotte since I moved down here, but Tepper apparently brought live music to Charlotte.
Yeah.
But here's what he said during the press conference. Have no idea what this has to do with the Panthers, but he said that under his watch, before he took over, there were about 10 events at Bank of America Stadium a year, counting Panther games. They are now up to like 35 events a year. Who gives a fuck?
Nobody cares.
You're running a team. I don't care how many events I don't care if I go to see Kenny Chesney in the off season. It has nothing to do with the way you're running the NFL team.
Yeah. What the hell is that? Is there anyone that's like, oh, the Giants stink this year? Yeah, but they had 35 shows at MetLife. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I had no idea. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to criticize. What the hell is that? It doesn't make any sense.
I want to go back to Novak brought up Sir Purr. Speaking of mascots, did Poe ever make it back for the Baltimore Ravens after his ACL injury last year?
Poe's been on the sideline this year.
Poe's doing okay?
Poe's back.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
He recovered. He's
Good.
Like the Dick. He came back in record time.
In record
for mascots. Yep.
Yeah.
The Dick of mascots.
I was just thinking, the other day, I hadn't gotten a Poe update, so I just was curious.
Here's what I don't get about Poe. Could they not have just brought Poe back the following week, knowing that everyone knows it's a different guy in the costume?
No, he had rehab. They got to be honest. They got to be real.
The question I never asked last year, which seems like it needs asking, is: do birds have Achilles tendons? I think they do.
Right.
So you guys got pet peeves tonight? I'll start with Novak.
Yeah, so I had a couple, so I won't say the other one because I'm hoping that one of you brings this up, because if not, I'll throw it out at the end. But my pet peeve is, normally on pet peeves, we have a reason or someone to blame for a pet peeve, whether it's coaches or officials or the NFL or whatever. My thing is, I can't understand. So some statistics. We have more than 5 million people play tackle football in this country every year. We also have 133 Division I colleges. And I watch a lot of college football, and every game I watch, I think, that quarterback's not bad. How can he not play in the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
How can we not produce 64 decent quarterbacks?
It's a great question.
Explain to me. I don't have an answer for this. I'm not blaming the NFL. I'm not blaming offensive coordinators. I don't know who to blame. I'm just, my peeve is that we can't produce 64 capable quarterbacks. A quarterback goes down with an injury, and we put in guys that can't throw a forward pass. And it's not just Danny DeVito and Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson. Brian Hoyer and Nathan Peterman still have jobs. How?
Oh my God.
How is that even possible? So someone, do you guys have an answer? Why can we not, like back in the day in the 80s and 90s, I hate to be an old fart again, Don Strock, Jeff Hostetler, Jeff Kemp, like these guys used to come in and move their teams down the field. Yeah, they weren't great, but they were capable. Why can't we not produce backup quarterbacks?
I love the Nathan Peterman call out, because I've never understood how Nathan Peterman still has a job in this league after he threw like 6 interceptions in a game early on. I'm like, you're right. Guys just exist in this league, and you're saying to yourself, what's going on? I think Cardone and I were at the same game with Mike in Atlanta. We saw Kirk Kittner play. And I saw like we were in the back of the end zone, so I could see him throwing the ball, and I'm like, where the fuck is that ball going? Like when you're watching it live in a stadium, and there's like literally no one within 20 yards, and it's not an intentional grounding thing. It's just the guy is trying to hit a receiver, and he just can't throw it within 20 yards of someone. I'm like, that's Kirk Kittner. This is a backup quarterback in this league.
I think a lot of it, guys, again, we've highlighted it just in that statistic earlier. Like, I think the offensive line play in this league has deteriorated to the point it's not even just sack numbers. We watch a lot of NFL, like the four of us, right? Guys, does it not seem, and I'm not talking about like, the better teams, like which are we said, right? There's only about 6 of those, and then everyone else is kind of just mediocrity and just bullshit, the rest of the league. And a lot of that has to do with the offensive lines. It just seems like every quarterback they're running for their lives on every like possession. So, and there are some bad backup quarterbacks, and I'm not trying to, elevate the quarterback play, because I think there are a lot of terrible quarterbacks, but I don't remember it. I will be an old fart, Novak, and go back to like the 80s and 90s. And there were guys who got sacks, obviously, but there were a lot of drives and games where like quarterbacks, there was a pocket, and there were strong arm quarterbacks delivering balls down the seam and down the numbers and over the middle. And you had time. Guys are running for their lives every drive, it seems like. Yeah. We certainly have seen it with the Giants for fucking 5 years with Daniel Jones back there. But I watch a lot of football, and as soon as the ball snapped, there's just fucking quarterbacks just running for their lives on every play.
Yeah, there was some evidence of this year, Chris, and great point. But so, the 49ers, right? They inexplicably in the middle of October lost 3 games in a row to Cleveland, Minnesota, and Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
And then they got their bye week, and they came back, and they seem to have forgotten that happened. They're right back to where they were at the beginning of the year. Do you know who didn't play those 3 games? McCaffrey played some of that. He wasn't out for the whole thing. There was a player who was out all of that, and that's their starting left tackle, Trent Williams.
Trent Williams.
Yeah.
And they scored 17 points in each of those 3 games.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you take those 3 games out, and I'm looking at it now, they're 30, 30, 30, 35, 42, 34, 27, 31.
Wow.
That's how That's how
It's-
big of a deal
it's-
Trent Williams
So it
makes
got
now.
the stat, and they've been keeping this stat for a long time. It's not always the sacks, it's the hits, hurries, and pressures, right? We always see that line for the quarterbacks, so Zach Wilson, 10 hurries, 3 hits. Those numbers for every game, or it just seems like most of the games, every quarterback, it's ridiculous. Like, 17 hurries, 12 knockdowns, 5 sacks. Like, the quarterback doesn't have any room to deliver a football most of the time.
Well, and that was my thing. It's like the starting quarterback goes down, and you feel like they go into the in a halftime they're going, okay, we can't throw it forward anymore, so we're gonna have to hand off, or we're gonna have to throw it behind the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, this guy can't actually throw forward. So I'm saying, like, I don't expect them to thread the needle, but even the Jets back in the 80s had a guy named Pat Ryan who was not any good, but he was capable of throwing a forward pass. Every team loses someone and they say, "Oh, we're just giving up. We're just going to hand it off, or we're going to throw a screen pass."
Yeah.
I don't get it. Something's not
That's
right.
a good point, because I mean, back in the day, you don't have to go back that far. Guy comes in, you run the same offense. He probably throws a pick, and you might lose the game or he gets sacked or something like that. But at least he's throwing this. He's running the same offense.
I mean,
Yes.
we had Hall of Famers like Steve Young back as a backup to Joe Montana, albeit, but still the guy was a legitimate backup, for crying out loud.
Aaron Rodgers was a backup.
Yeah.
Jay Schrader,
Hey, Schrader.
who came in and beat the Giants.
After we shattered Theismann's leg, I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Thiesman.
Changed his own name to Theismann to rhyme with Heisman. Isn't that a true story? Narcissistic
Yes, it is.
asshole.
That's a dick move. That is a dick move.
Mike, pet peeve?
Yeah, I teased it earlier. I can't remember if we were on the air or not, but my pet peeve this week is the Dallas Cowboys just themselves, and it's specific to them this season. It's other teams in past years, I guess, maybe, and it kind of goes back and dovetails with another pet peeve I did earlier in the year, which was nobody in the media or in analysis or anything takes your opponent into consideration when they evaluate how you're doing. So the thing that got me going on this was, I don't know if you guys watched a lot of media and stuff this week, but the Dallas Cowboys are now the best team in football, according to the media, and Dak Prescott is the MVP. So I was really curious. So Dallas is 8-3 right now, which is a great record. And listen, I'm not even saying they're not a good team. The Dallas Cowboys are clearly a good football team. No question about it. But their 3 losses are to the only 2 good teams they played, and somehow inexplicably to the Cardinals. So that's their 3 losses. Their wins, guys, are the Giants, the Jets, and the Patriots were their first 3 wins of the year.
Ugh.
How do you even get lucky enough to get that on the schedule? That is basically the same terrible team 3 weeks in a row, with Arizona wedged in there, and you fucking lost that game somehow.
If that was college football, you would fall in the rankings for beating those teams,
Yes,
even though you won. Yeah.
So then, they're starting to get some love as Dak back, and they get absolutely obliterated by a great 49ers team, which, by the way, I believe that next week the 49ers went on their slide, but anyway, and then starts this thing that's got them like Dak is the MVP and this is the best team in football now. Their schedule, now mind you, I'll start again: Giants, Jets, Cardinals, which they lost, Patriots, and then the 49ers where they got killed. Now here we go. So it's Chargers, Rams. They annihilate both of those teams, of course. Then they're at Philly. They get beat. Immediately just get beat. And then they come back, and since then, their next 3 wins in a row that have everyone talking about them now is Giants, Panthers, Commanders.
Oh.
So the Cowboys wins are 2 Giants, Jets, Patriots, Chargers, Rams, Panthers, and Commanders.
Oh my God.
That's what I said, Novak. I didn't even realize.
I didn't
how
realize that either.
Pathetic. And they have 3 losses in there.
8 Gardner Webbs basically is what they've done. I mean, that's yeah.
I mean, we're about to find out. We're about to find out starting with not an easy game, but not really a hard game either this week, home with Seattle. But then we got Philly, Bills, Dolphins, Lions back in 4 straight weeks. So we're going to find out.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what the Cowboys are made of. Which, and by the way, they do play. Now they've played somehow, again, something that would never happen to the Giants. They play 3 games in a row at home.
Oh,
And 4 out of 5. So they had the Giants at home. Then they traveled all the way to Carolina. And now they had Washington, Seattle, and Philly at home. But they do close out in that tough stretch with 3 of those last 4 on the road. So we are about to find out who the Dallas Cowboys are. But we already know who Dak Prescott is. He is not an MVP candidate. My God, name a quarterback. I can't even think of one who played that schedule and who wouldn't come out looking like a really, really good quarterback.
Exactly.
Why does it have to be a quarterback?
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Dak and Jalen Hurts as the MVP front runners? Why can't it be a defender? Why can't it be someone else?
That's the other thing, though, if you want to talk about MVP, which I even feel like talking Dak Prescott and MVP in the same sentence is like giving legitimacy to something that should never be considered. But how if you were starting a football team today, would you take Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott? It's not even. Close. I mean, it's how does anyone with a straight face tell you that Dak Prescott deserves to be the MVP? That's wild. That is that. So that I just did a little deeper dive on the Dallas Cowboys this week, and the deeper I dove, the madder I got about these sentiments. And these announcers, they just don't learn it. I don't know how much you guys watch The Simpsons, but you ever see the one where there's 2 buttons and one gives Homer a beer and the other one shocks him, but he still keeps pressing the shock button because he thinks maybe he'll get a beer from that one. That is the announcers and the media with Dallas. It happens every year, even when they don't have a tough schedule. But with this schedule coming up, I'm gonna go on record. Nose dive 30 is coming from Dallas, and at least they'll have an excuse for it this year because they've got a tougher schedule coming up than usual. But
we'll find out a lot about him in the next month.
Here's my other claim. I should have done this already if I was going to be ready. This doesn't have it on it. However many interceptions Dak Prescott has right now in the season, he will have more from this point forward than he already has. So if he has 5 now, he'll have 7 over these next few games.
I love it. Yeah.
So I rarely do this, but I don't want to follow Cardone, so I'm going to give my pet peeve now. So mine is there is a guy on Deadspin called Karen Phillips, and he wrote an article showing a Chiefs fan in a headdress with a black painted face, and it was done from the side view, silhouette view, so it made it look like he had a black face with a headdress on. And he went on and said, this guy has a black painted face, and it's double racism. He's got the black painted face and the headdress.
Super racist.
Turns out the kid is a 12-year-old kid. When you take away the black and you turn him straight forward, he's got half black, half red, the colors of the Chiefs. And he is a young kid rooting on his team with a painted face. Not unlike like you would see in the Panthers, like where someone would have like a panther painted on their cheek. They actually have people painting faces down in the lower concourse before you go into the game. So this guy not only does this he writes an article about racism, but he also claims that this person, didn't call him a kid, found a way to hate black people and Native Americans at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
And wrote an article about this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, why do we have to bring this bullshit into sports? The kids, like, can you imagine someone showing up at a Giants game half red, half blue face? It happens all the time.
Happens all the time.
Are they gonna get called racist for having a face painted?
I hope this kid's family sues this guy into oblivion. That is the only good outcome here.
Yeah. Nah, it's absurd, man. This is where we're at. Brutal.
Well, Putty was
So
a Satanist, apparently.
Yes.
Right?
Who was?
Putty.
Putty. He painted his
Putty.
face
Putty.
as a devil.
New Jersey Devils. Antichrist.
This is, I'll tell you what, though. I mean, guys, we do a podcast. We're not journalists, but this is the state of journalism today.
Yeah.
People will run with a story to generate clicks. They don't give a fuck what the content is or how correct it is or what it is. They want shock value. I don't care
Absolutely.
about shocking people. I want to entertain our listeners, obviously. And we appreciate our loyal listeners. But stuff like this is over the top. You're talking about a kid watching a football game who paints his face and you're calling him racist because he's got and the worst thing is
Kid.
the manipulation of showing him with the black face without showing him with the side that's red too.
Yeah, get a convenient picture. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Awful.
Talking about a
Just
kid.
awful.
Ah, man.
Cardone.
Yeah, I've got my pet peeve is I actually have two pet peeves. It's like a 2-for-1. I have two pet peeves that all came in one play. And it's one of those most insignificant plays that no one would remember, but I sure do. So I'll highlight this for us here and for our listeners. So it actually came from the Giant game. As I'm watching Giants New England, early in the game, it's New England's second possession. They're trotting down the field. They get into that no man's land area. The Giants, they end up with a 4th and 7 at the Giants 37. So I'm thinking, again, we always talk about like, well, 37-yard line, that's a 55-yard field goal. So what's Belichick going to do? I'm thinking he's either going to go for it or kick a field goal. So he actually sends the punt formation team out there. So I'm thinking, holy shit, is this guy actually, they're going to actually punt the ball? So what they do, my first part of the pet peeve, is New England decides to take the intentional delay of game, I guess to give the fucking punter that proverbial extra 5 yards, the extra room. I want to know when this started and why this started, where NFL caliber punters need that extra room as if they don't know how to kick a 30-yard punt. Shit, Gillian sends 35-yard punts unintentionally all game. Send him out there. He doesn't need the extra 5 yards. So they take the intentional delay of game. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here are the assholes taking the extra delay of game. So for that, but guys, I don't understand the extra. I've never understood the extra 5 yards there. Like they're on the 37. What's the difference? So they go back to the 42. So then my second part of the pet peeve, the asshole Brian Daboll-led Giants declined the fucking penalty. So now I'm thinking, I was hoping that Belichick would now decide to send the field goal unit back out. All right, assholes, you're going to decline the penalty. And so I was hoping they would kick a 55-yard field goal then. They keep the punt formation on. I'm thinking, which no one ever thinks about this, what if the Giants go off sides now after declining the penalty? Now you move the ball up to the 32, in which the Patriots could either kick the field goal from which would then be a 49-yard field goal, or just hell with it, just go for it at that point, 4th and 2. So I'm thinking these assholes are intentionally delaying themselves to give the fucking extra 5 yards, which no one has ever explained to me how that helps, because guess what? They kicked from the 37, and what happened? Hisman, you brought this up earlier. We got nailed at the 5-yard line anyway. So they didn't need the 5 yards.
Yeah.
So I had two pet peeves all wrapped up and rolled up in one pathetic play where they're delaying themselves and the Giants decline the penalty. We end up first and 10 from our own 5-yard line anyway. Stop with the delay of game. Just kick the goddamn ball, because I don't understand why these punters need this 5 yards. When did this ever start, or when did that happen? I have no idea. And the Giants deciding, I've seen this before, where teams, they're being clever and declining that penalty. Don't decline the goddamn penalty. I was hoping then, what if you go off sides, Dable? What if some jerk then jumps across the line? Now you put the ball at the 32. No one ever says that. You think Jonathan Vilma is clever or smart enough to come with that? I'm saying it from the couch. You think Vilma's coming out to be like, oh, geez, that's a questionable call there by Dable to decline that penalty? No, Vilma's going with his, forget about it. That's what he's doing. You think Vilma is actually analyzing to that depth or level, which doesn't even take that much? I'm like, why decline it? I was thinking, Giants, we've gone off sides before on field goals. Everyone does. Luckily, they didn't anyway. And the guy, so the third part, the trifecta, is getting drilled down to the 5-yard line anyway. Stop with all this bullshit with the 5 extra yards. Just punt the ball.
I'm hypersensitive to Vilma ever since he said when Evan Ingram dropped a pass that was uncharacteristic of him.
Uncharacteristic.
He says something now every game that goes against what we've seen as fans, and I say to myself, has this guy actually watched the team at all this year? Because he'll say something and you look at it and you're like, what are you talking about? He talks about like Saquon Barkley. Barkley wasn't in on third downs for most of this game. And his opening thing was Saquon Barkley was going to be a huge third down threat in this game.
Mm-hmm. How?
I'm
based
convinced,
on what?
I'm convinced about Vilma maybe more so than anyone else that he does. They're there all week. They interview players. They develop what the narrative of the game is going to be. We've already seen that. Even if the game doesn't follow the narrative, they force it into the narrative. But Vilma, I'm pretty sure just shows up on Sunday morning.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like,
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Hey, what do I need to know about this game? Tommy DeVito's Italian, and Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. That's all I need to know. I'm good. I'm going into this game.
I can go with that. I'll start with that.
So we do have
real quick.
Go ahead.
What the F with these halftime shows on Thanksgiving? That's the only thing. I thought you guys were going to go there, and we
Dolly
didn't.
Parton?
No, that fucking guy on the Lion game. What was that?
I have to say, no, I actually didn't watch it. I heard, there was a lot of talk about it, and it wasn't even intentional. I didn't watch the halftime show, so I wasn't even aware what the hell was going on. I found out about this shit later. I heard. I know.
No, Novak, everyone's going on about Dolly Parton. You have what is she, like 77? 77 years old, dressed like a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, having to support herself on the railing half the time for not falling.
She was furniture walking across.
It's like, really? I mean, great. She looked fantastic. She's 77 years old. Do I really care if she's looking great or not? I mean, I don't know. It's Dolly Parton.
No.
Listen, I'm not going to stand here and listen to you degrade the greatest living American icon that's out there.
I love Dolly Parton. But I mean, come on. I mean,
the thing that they put on in the Detroit game
was
I don't even know. They always seem to pick a person like from Detroit, right? So you've got Motown, Eminem, just like this hub of the greatest music of all time, and we got that.
I feel bad because I didn't even know Jack someone. I don't even know who
Jack
it was.
Howell, I think his name was, or something.
I would say Jack Reacher, but that's like a movie guy.
Jack Reacher halftime would be awesome.
It would
be amazing.
Have him just beating down people. Yeah.
I just need to throw that out there.
He walked out of an igloo and there was a guy standing behind him and then the guy went back.
It was like an 8th grade gym set, like walking around on crepe paper. It was, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
I couldn't even understand a word he said. I'm sounding old, but whatever.
That's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
So we did get a few questions.
Google who it was.
Jack Harlow, I think.
Harlow, that's what it was.
Harlow, yeah.
All right.
He's great.
So we got a few questions this week. Our friend Chris Coons asked, do we like the staggered buys, or would we prefer like a mid-year week where every team has a bye and there's just no football? I thought that was great question. I thought that's a great suggestion. I actually hate the staggered bye because two things. First, AWS, your schedule, creation sucks. This would be one way to help you not suck so much. But second of all, there's an inherent advantage to certain teams when you have a bye in week 4 versus week 13 and so on and so forth. I don't get why we can't level the playing field. European soccer teams do this. They take like a whole month of December off or something. Yep. They'll take, a break between December and so forth into January. Why can't NFL just take a week and in the NFL hype machine, take that week take it off and do something there. Do skills competitions. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Show like a women's like flag football game or something. Try and build that brand.
I love the idea, and it should have been the weekend prior to Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
it really should
roll into Thanksgiving. Those games we would all be anticipating that, because we would not have had just games on Sunday and Monday. How great would that? And then I might be okay with the stupid Black Friday game. I agree. I love the idea.
Yeah, it's a good concept.
Yeah. Isn't that the way it originally was?
No,
they
I
never
don't
had
think we've ever had.
No, when buys first started, I think I had this. They used to do it like just by division. So like every team in the same division would have their buy simultaneously. Then they started somehow getting into the staggered, where it's just random teams now, right, that have the buys on the same week. But this idea is I like, because then you don't get that team. Like it does level the playing field. You're not playing a team that is coming off a bye and another team has been battling on the road for the last couple of weeks or some shit, So yeah, I like that. I like the idea of every team having the same time off.
I think last year, actually, the Giants played 3 different teams coming off bye, and then also played a team where the Giants like were on bye, but they were on bye at the same time. So it was like it didn't give them any advantage.
Yeah, I like this idea a lot. I really do. I think it should have legs. The thing I like about it is maybe we play basically the Pro Bowl now is flag football, right? So there's no reason we couldn't play it in the middle of the season.
Like all the other leagues, right?
Yeah.
The All-Star game.
And that way you get people like Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't played in a Pro Bowl ever, because he's always in the championship week games. So, I like it. But we had a year with 2 buys then, right? I know we had a year.
It was
a
a
2
bye year.
Yeah.
That's awful. Yeah.
So friend of the show, Ingrid, also chimed in, and she was talking about the way we've gone on about college lately and saying the officiating's better. And then she asked, is it really better? Because if you look at any Ohio State home game, is the officiating really better? And I'll tackle this one first. Here's what I'll say. Look, officiating in college 10 years ago was pretty bad. But what they did is they put some changes in there. They put a decent replay system in effect that isn't triggered by coaches. It's not a replay, you don't challenge. They just buzz down. If there's a call that's bad, they try to overturn it. But here's the biggest thing I still go back to, and I've gone back to it a number of times versus the NFL. Even when games are called inconsistently in college, what you're not seeing these phantom calls. You're just not seeing something that doesn't exist that a flag is thrown for. Will Ohio State get calls at home? Probably they will. I think I've been to Clemson games where Clemson is getting some calls at home where there's not things called against them. But what I'm not seeing in a college level, especially in key games, I'm not seeing flags come out for a defensive pass interference where the whole crowd is going, whoa, what did you see? And week in, week out with the NFL, illegal contact, defensive holding, defensive pass interference, those 3 penalties, you could pick apart any game that you watch, and you could actually say to yourself, where's the call? What's he throwing the flag for? Why is that flag coming out? And that's, to me, is the core difference between what we see today in the NFL versus college.
Yeah.
Not that bad calls don't exist. They're going to exist.
Sure. Yeah.
But college has done a good job of trying to mitigate it.
I was going to. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Chris.
No, I was just going to. Go ahead. I don't have an original thought really on that one, because I was just going to repeat what Scott said. I was going to answer that question the same exact way you just did. Is that the difference is those 3 penalties that you just highlighted, where offensive drives are just kept alive at the end of the game. I don't see that quite as much in college. It seems like. That's all. I was just going to. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. The same thing. That's all.
Yeah, it's on. And the other thing, that you notice in college is like you pointed out, Scott. Michigan gets calls at home, Clemson gets calls at home, Ohio State gets calls at home, but they don't seem to be controversial that much. People might say, "Oh, that's a home cooking," but that's not. It's not, and it doesn't seem to be game impactful. The officials don't seem to insert themselves into the game at the college level. I mean, very rarely do you walk away from a college game saying the officials were the story of that game.
Yeah.
It happens. Sometimes they have a bad day, right? Colorado gets 5 downs some days.
That's a bad day.
Yeah.
College does not do, like Scott brings this up a lot for the NFL. They don't do the call on the opposite side of the field that was not involved in the play. You never see that. If it's a flag, it's maybe a little debatable, but it's within the nature of the play that is going on. And that's what I love about college. There's no bailouts, there's no phantom calls that didn't impact the play at all. That is what I tend to see.
The only thing I want to see a little, they get a little carried away or get a little overzealous with the targeting calls, I think sometimes.
But even targeting gets reviewed. So, I mean, they at least go to a second source to confirm it.
True. Yeah.
So Peacock chimed in with a couple of questions. The first one, I think, is just a dig at Mike, asking if Giant Mike is absent more than Daniel Jones has been. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Is this the first pod you've missed?
I missed preseason pod. I think I missed 2 preseason pods, and this is though. Yeah, I started on day 1. Cardone started 0 for 1, by the way. So I've now tied Cardone for pods missed.
I went back and listened to our very initial pod, and it's Mike and I, and there are times we're struggling. We're trying we're trying to figure out what to say, when to say it. We sounded we were very vanilla, very boring.
Yeah.
The audio wasn't great.
We didn't have Darren yet. We didn't know what to say.
Darren the intern.
We had this janky intro music that we used to play back for the first 6.
I think we should go back to it.
Hey, go back to Seinfeld. Go back to Seinfeld season 1. Not that hilarious. You know, it took a couple seasons to really find their groove. You know,
if I'm ever in a bad mood, and I need a pick me up, I will listen to Scott's drunken Cincinnati Bengals pod.
That's
amazing. I laugh differently about something on that pod every single time. If anyone's out there listening, listen to that one. If you can skim through all of the different pods, you are missing out if you're not listening to that pod.
I got to go back.
There's
listen to that one.
nuggets in there, man.
There's a lot. Even when I listen, I pick up things because I had no idea what I was saying back then. And then Peacock also asked if Dable's been fighting with the coordinators. Is there something there, and should he go? My initial reaction here is Peacock asks a lot of questions about Dable and whether he should be fired. And I'm thinking to myself, I love the fact that McCarthy is the coach of the Cowboys. I don't want him to go anywhere. So is Peacock threatened by Dable? Does he think that maybe Dable's presence is going to impact the Cowboys at some point?
Of course. I want to take a life insurance policy out on McCarthy. I want him right there for as long as possible. And if that means that they need to sneak into the playoffs this year and win a game, I am all for it. Just keep McCarthy in that seat, and keep Dak behind center, and the rest of the division will be just fine, as long as that particular combination stays.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Now that I did hear something about Dable and Wink maybe having a rough week, but I did also hear that Dable gave Wink Martin the game ball this week to.
Wink got the game ball this week. A lot of this stuff I think is the product of beat writers trying to drum up stories during a bad year.
Well, the journalists are mamby-pamby little pussies, pardon my French. And when real men like football coaches get into it a little bit, oh my gosh, they hate each other. It's like the difference. Like, you ever have guys over playing poker in your wife's home? I did that one time, and everyone left, and she comes up to me after. She was like, "Is everything okay with you guys?" I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, you said some things that were unforgivable. I said, they said they sent
Unforgivable.
it back to me. She's like, oh, if I talk to the girls that way, oh my God. So it was
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's these reporters are basically just little mamby-pamby, never played a sport in their life, could only write about it, and they're just shocked and appalled at when football coaches and players, sometimes
There's a heated
testosterone,
exchange. Yeah.
flows over.
We can't have heated exchanges these days.
No,
That's a character flaw apparently.
no disagreeing.
You guys got anything else this week? All right.
No, just looking at. I wanted to make one comment. I'm looking at strength of victory, and to Hisman's pet peeve, the Dallas Cowboys have a 308 winning percentage of strength of victory, which is among the lowest of all. The Saints somehow have one lower, and our Giants do too. But as far as the playoff teams, by far the worst.
Yeah,
and the Miami Dolphins, which we've highlighted too. Miami 311. And everyone else. Oh, I did have a question for you guys. Can I have a question to you guys on something?
Yeah.
I was looking at it tonight. So if I give you a couple guesses, name the only team that is undefeated on the road. One team in the NFL is undefeated on the road right now.
Eagles seems like too easy an answer.
They lost to the Jets though on the road.
Exactly. So it's not the Eagles.
Undefeated on the road.
Undefeated on the road. Only team. Every other team has at least one loss on the road.
Baltimore Ravens?
Nope.
Cowboys?
Nope.
Lions?
Nope. I was going to give you at least 5 guesses, and I think we're at 5 right now.
I don't know.
Dolphins.
Nope. I want to keep going.
Maybe something stupid like the Jets. I mean, what?
Nope.
Ravens.
Nope.
I said the Ravens.
Yes.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
No.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Give up?
Yeah.
It's an AFC team.
Broncos.
Nope.
We didn't even talk about the Broncos, by the way.
This is awesome.
We'll talk about them next week because I think that will be pertinent.
Undefeated on the road. Seattle.
No,
he said AFC.
AFC team.
Oh, okay. Okay, AFC.
They used to be
Seattle.
in the AFC.
Yeah, my mind went back to when they were in that division with Denver.
I'm
we
making
pretty
sure I
much
got
named
this right.
everyone at this point, so.
The Jaguars.
Yes.
Oh!
Oh.
The Jacksonville Jaguars are the only they're 5-0 on the road. Only
It's because they're out of
on the road.
Yeah, they're so
Duval.
lucky to get out of Duval.
Yeah.
That they,
I was looking at the standings earlier, and I just my eyes just happened to scroll. I'm like, holy shit! There's only one team that's undefeated on the road. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
that includes
that's a tough one.
games in London.
Yeah. Those are? I don't know if those are home games. Whatever the case, yeah, they're 5-0 on the road.
Wow.
Our friend Ingrid of the show from Duval.
Duval. Yeah. So I had it in my head as they're in the middle of the pod here. I'm like, oh, that's going to be my closing trivia question to my podcast mates here. So I knew that was going to be a tough one. That was
that was hard.
My daughter gave me one this week that stumped me. What's the only NFL team logo that faces to the left?
I know this, so I can't answer it because I know this one. I don't want to just blurt it out. Somehow this came up recently, and so I happen to know it.
I did not know it. I did not
the
know
dolphin,
it.
Is the dolphin jumping to the front of the helmet? To the left?
It's not the dolphin.
Oh, Miami. And you can't use like the giant logo, like the NY. That's just stationary, so you can't use that. So
the Patriots?
No.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna go with Cardone. Cardone knows it, so
I do. Well, I mean, it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, it is. It's the eagle faces to the left.
The eagle head. Do you know why though? There's a reason why. In the feathers.
Looking at Rocky or something?
No. I didn't really note. It's one of those like optical illusions almost. In the the eagle's head, like where the feathers are behind, it makes an E for eagles. Take a look at it.
It does?
Yes.
Is it one of those things you can't unsee now?
Exactly.
Yes, it's like the FedEx logo with the arrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's a capital E on the head, and that's why it faces that direction. So it makes an E, just like the Falcons. That's the Falcon. It's an F for Falcons.
Yep,
So the Eagles, take a look at the logo, and it's an E, and it's in the feathers there. Yeah,
Whew.
and you probably won't be able to unsee it now.
Great. Thanks, Cardone.
You guys
one more reason to hate him.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else this week? All right, we went long this week, but we will next week recap the Jets game. We will not have much to talk about the Giants, but we will then preview their Monday Night Football game against the Packers. So that's always something to look forward to. So have a good week. We'll be back next week.
See ya.
See you.
See you.